week's rabbit hole happened because I'm rewatching Twin Peaks. And one of the episodes ends with a classic 50s rock and roll song playing over the end credits. And I'd heard this song before. Every guitar player in the world has covered it. But I got kind of curious about the original version, if there was a story about it. So I looked it up, and there is a story. It's a good one. The song is Sleepwalk by Santo and Johnny. Santo and Johnny were the Farina brothers, Italian-Americans from Brooklyn, New York. And they were teenagers in the late 50s. And their father had bought them a tape recorder. He encouraged them to write their own music. And how cool is that? I mean, they were probably the only kids on their block to have their own tape recorder in the late 50s. But one night they can't sleep, and they write this song that becomes Sleepwalk. And what happened next is the younger brother, Johnny Farina, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, was convinced that it was a hit song. And he spent a year and a half taking that demo around, trying to get the interest of publishers, record companies, anybody he could. And finally, he convinced a small Canadian record label to give him a chance, and they went into Manhattan and recorded that song. And the next thing you know, the legendary rock and roll DJ Alan Freed puts it into heavy rotation. The thing spreads across the country, sells 1 million copies, becomes a #1 song, and they wind up going on Dick Clark's TV show, and everybody's happy. And it's a great story, because that's the way that it's supposed to be. That's how it used to work. That doesn't happen now. The music business is broken. It's FUBAR. You know, what I got to thinking about, when I read the story, I thought about what would Santo and Johnny do if they were writing that song today? Well, they would sit up all night recording it on their DAW, on a laptop or any kind of computer. And they wouldn't need to go into a recording studio, because they could do the drums and bass, you know, just like we do with our DAWs, you know, the plug-in and samples and whatnot. And then they would put it on Spotify, YouTube. Maybe they'd get fancy and get a distributor like DistroKid to put it on all of the streaming services. And what would happen? You'd get maybe 1,000, 2,000 streams, and then it would disappear, like everything else does. It's become impossible for anybody to get any traction these days, let alone an unknown. Lizzo, Grammy Award-winning multi-hit artist, put a post up the other day complaining that she dropped a mixtape that wasn't getting any action whatsoever. There's too much stuff. I think of it like this: if Santo and Johnny had their song and they released it on to streaming, it'd be like if you walk to the end of Santa Monica Pier with an eyedropper and you lean out over the Pacific Ocean and you let go of one drop, and that drop is your precious song that you worked your heart out for. And there it goes, and you hope for the best. You drop it, and you know, in this case, the Pacific Ocean is the sea of content, or the streaming diaspora. And it doesn't work anymore. It's completely screwy. It's become a data game. It's become something that people try to manipulate. They manipulate playlists, or they try to figure out how to use bots and not get caught, and do all kinds of shenanigans to get more streams. And it's not about the music. It's not back in the day with Santo and Johnny. They get to go on Dick Clark and sell 1 million records because people heard their record and loved it. And like I said before, everybody in the world, every guitar player in the world covered it. I've covered it. You'll hear my version in a minute. I played a snippet at the beginning. It might be one of the few keyboard covers. But it's just screwy. I don't have a solution for this. It's not good. And I feel for younger artists that are trying to make something happen. I mean, I'm out of the game anyway, but it's just unworkable. The other reason why Sleepwalk wouldn't be a hit today is because it's instrumental. And it used to be the instrumentals would become hits all the time. But that, I can't think of a single instrumental that has become a hit. I mean, a hit in the way that it seeped into the public consciousness, into the culture, the way that a tune like Tequila did, you know? There used to be all kind of instrumentals. When I was coming up in the 60s, there was the surf music was happening with the Ventures, Walk Don't Run. They did their own version of Sleepwalk. The Safaris with Wipeout. You know, all the surf music was guitar-based instrumental stuff. And then came along the R&B instrumentals like Booker T and the MGs with Green Onions. Ramsey Lewis with the In Crowd. And then up into the 70s, Chuck Mangione had a huge hit, Feels So Good. And then in the 80s, Herbie Hancock with Rocket, Jan Hammer with the Miami Vice theme. And then in the 90s, it was Kenny G had a huge hit. I can't remember the name of that song. But since then, have there been instrumental hits? I mean, that are big hits, like anybody would recognize them if you dropped them into the soundtrack of a TV show? I can't think of any. Let me know in the comments. But here's my version of Sleepwalk. I had fun doing it. It'll get a couple of hundred streams, and then it'll float away into the sea of content. But thanks for listening, and thanks for watching, and hit that subscribe button. It'll do you no harm. And I'll see you the next time. Okay? Hasta la vista. Ciao.